The automotive industry is set for a revolution that will disrupt and reshape global business, threatening the survival of every organization. To make sure you survive and win in the new automotive game, automotive growth expert Roberto Dal Corso has interviewed global experts from the automotive industry to identify the changes and the impacts that are coming to keep you ahead of the curve.
So welcome to the leading Disruptive Automotive Trends Summit. Today I have the privilege of being the host on the show, and I get to interview the leader of this summit, who is Roberto Dal Corso. Now, Roberto is an award-winning automotive growth expert with a proven track record in the automotive industry. He's worked with leading OE Tier 1 manufacturers and global distributors in 35 different countries around the world. He successfully launched over 40 new product lines and services, generating over 1 billion euros in additional sales by developing new markets, new products, strategic partnerships across Europe and sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm so very delighted to welcome you to your own series. Welcome.
No, Kevin, thank you so much, and thank you for being a fantastic stand-in me.
I'm very excited to be a stand-in you, and I'm very much looking forward to what we're going to learn today from you. I mean, after putting together this summit and interviewing so many great leaders on the show, I'm sure you're going to have some great insights to share with us. What I'd love to know from you from the start is, what gave you the idea to create this virtual summit on leading disruptive automotive trends?
Well, having worked in the automotive industry for a number of years in key positions, from running marketing departments, business development, to even running, an aftermarket business unit, one of the roles I had was to create and integrate a marketing intelligence network into our organization. And it's probably at that time that I became very passionate about this subject, because I was looking at, understanding the trends, and more importantly, understanding the impacts that the trends were going to have on organizations. So it wasn't so much let's call it the depth of change, but rather the breadth of change that really got me passionate. And ever since then, I've been on a mission to help the automotive industry in navigating the changes, the market uncertainties.
And what an incredible background and story you have there. So tell us, after putting this together, what can we expect in the coming days of the summit?
Well, in the coming days of the summit, there's a couple of different things. I mean, I've gone out and interviewed leaders or automotive experts from around the world. And there's a couple of things that I really want to bring to a forefront. And, and there's probably three main things. I mean, the first one, I want absolutely everybody to understand what the real automotive disruptive trends are. Secondly, I want everyone to be prepared for the impacts that these trends are going to have, on every organization that's out there. And then thirdly, as long with every threat and every trend that's out there, there's also an opportunity for growth. And, I want to explore some of the opportunities of how your organization or organizations out there can grow, gain market share, and improve profitability.
And we all would love to have more profitability in our business, right? That's part of the reason for being here in the industry, to make sure that we can maximize the return and actually deliver value to ourselves and our shareholders. Hey, so Roberto, what changes do you see impacting the automotive industry today and tomorrow?
Well, people think the automotive industry is going through an evolutionary phase, really driven by 4 megatrends of e-mobility or electric vehicles, autonomous driving, car sharing, and connectivity. But in reality, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than just those 4. And, when you speak to the experts, they will all agree that these 4 megatrends are led by non-traditional automotive organizations, if I can say, because they're led by Tesla, Apple, Google, and Uber. But in reality, the automotive industry is on the road heading down the road of its greatest revolution the industry has seen since the invention of the car back in 1886. And it's these underlying trends that are really impacting disrupting and reshaping businesses around the world and actually threatening the survival of businesses around the world. And don't just take my word for it, because Wilco Stark, the CEO of Daimler, recently came out and said that he wasn't sure if his company, Daimler, so someone of the size of Daimler with their brand, if they were going to survive the current revolution and if they were going to survive into the future. And he's not the only CEO, because the CEO of Toyota has come out and said similar things. So it's important to remember that the trends impacting today will impact you, will impact your business, will impact your future, and they are taking place right now because the revolution has already started. So, in a recent study by McKinsey, they've gone out and interviewed tier 1 manufacturers and global distributors, and you'd be surprised to hear that 80%, so 4 out of 5 people that they interviewed openly stated that they did not feel they were adequately prepared for the trends that were taking place in the market today. And, to me, it's more than just the trends, because it really is a matter of survival. If you want to survive today for tomorrow, you need to more than just understand the trends, anticipate the impact, but you really need to internally create and build the internal mechanisms that will manage the change in order to survive and grow. Then you've got a very good chance, and I believe you'll be very comfortable in growing, surviving into the future as an organization.
So, but wow, 4 out of 5 or 80% of organizations are not prepared or not ready to deal with this, so they're unlikely to survive. So I know these 4 megatrends are coming through and they're going to have an impact, but I think I heard you say there that it's not the megatrends that are threatening the survival of the automotive organization. So what really is threatening the industry?
Let me try and explain it with an example. Recently I was interviewing Henning Jensen, the CEO of Kongsberg Automotive here in Zurich. And it was about this summit, and I had been to their offices a couple of times, and while I was sitting in his boardroom, setting up my PC, something like we're doing now, getting the recorders ready and getting all ready, I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed and probably a little bit lonely. And then Henning walked in, and we got discussing the trends, we got discussing the technological changes, and he gave me a wonderful story about his grandmother, and in her lifespan and in her time, the changes in technology and innovation that she had seen. But the one thing that I'll never forget about that conversation is at the end of that, he stared intently at me in his very quiet manner, leaned across the table and said, "Those are not the issues I have in my business today. The issues I have," he said, "are 1, suppliers and distributors consolidating in the industry." He said, "Number 2, it's the OEMs aggressively expanding their activities. And number 3, he said, was digitalization." And, when I look at those 3, I totally agree with Henning, but I would go and add a 4th one in there. And that 4th one would have to be new intermediaries coming into the marketplace. And what I mean by that is the like of insurance companies and these mega maintenance fleets, which are coming in, changing the rules, even the rules of engagement, and absolutely ripping the market to pieces. And, the future survival of the industry is at stake. And it frustrates me because quite often I feel that organizations are almost driving into the future, but looking at the past through the rearview mirror. And quite often they end up making mistakes which take them away from their goals rather than towards the goals. And these tendencies and changes in the market are driving down revenue, decreasing profitability, and at the same time are absolutely disrupting the nature and the way you do business today. So, it's more than just understanding what you need to do, but it's also understanding how you go about doing it and taking action. And, that leads to the next point, because even if you know what to do, statistically, we know that 7 out of 10 or 70% of change initiatives, new product launches, new market entrances fail. And when I speak to a lot of my clients, they generally fail because they tell me, well, we lacked the resource, we lacked the time, we didn't have the right budget, we didn't have the product, but it's all generally about, lacking resources. In my experience, I think it's more than just the resources. I mean, I've seen it in organizations I've worked in and in projects I've led, where it's not so much the resources. I think it's more about the resourcefulness in how you handle and manage the resources we have. So, I think it's absolutely critical to understand the trends, understand the impacts, but you have to create the internal mechanisms to manage the change going forward.
Roberto, you tell us about the key trends and impacts. Maybe you can share some examples with us of how that's looking for us right now.
Okay. Sure. I mean, that's a question a lot of my clients ask me about the examples and the impacts. And, when you look at the first trend, the one of the distributors consolidating, I think that trend will continue over the next couple of years in Europe. And in the next 2 to 3 years, you're probably going to have 4, maybe 5 mega wholesalers who will have probably 50% market share. And these wholesalers will then utilize and leverage their bargaining power, their purchase power on their suppliers. So as a supplier, you're going to feel frustrated and squeezed. You're going to feel like you need to give better price conditions. You're going to feel like you're going to need to give additional services. And all of that is going to drive down your sales and your profitability. When you take a look at one of the second ones, where it's the OEMs expanding their activities, to me that's not a real surprise, because when you take a look at car manufacturers and truck manufacturers, they're earning less and less money in their new vehicle sales. So they're under pressure to grow, they're under pressure to improve profits, so they've got to go look elsewhere. But underlying to that, I mean, people like you and I are not as frequently purchasing a brand new car, and the truck thing is happening the same. So the vehicle population is getting older. And that further compounds the problems for the truck and car vehicle manufacturers. So they're having to go look elsewhere to keep their shareholders happy, because they want to grow. The only place you can grow is you've then got to go look at the market where they've traditionally not focused on, and that's the aftermarket. So they come into the aftermarket, which is a little bit new for them, but they have an unfair advantage. They tend to control, and in some cases even own, several of the steps within the value chain, whether it's supplier all the way down to distributor, so they can come in, rapidly, quickly gain market share, and for themselves improve revenue and improve profitability. For existing players in the market, it becomes a different story, because you're being squeezed in terms of sales and you see your profit decreasing quite quickly. The third one that Henning mentioned was the digitalization, and that one I could probably run a summit all on its own, because there's just so many different levels of it and that's not fully understood. But digitalization will continue, the rate will grow, and e-commerce is tied into that. And statistically, I think the experts are talking about 25 to 35% of parts and services sold in the next 2 years will be going online. And I was recently talking to a CEO of a German manufacturer, which I bumped into at the airport in Birmingham. And he said to me they've been growing double-digit the last couple of years, and all of that was only because of their online e-commerce system. Nothing more. The rest of the business had been stable, but they were growing e-commerce-wise. So in effect, I mean, customers are changing, buying habits and patterns are changing. I mean, you and I, we are connected 24/7 to the internet. Our customers are no different. The end users are no different. The market is changing. So unless you as an organization can really give an end user or a customer the experience on the digital side that he wants, they're going to go elsewhere. And we all know that it costs 6 to 7 times to acquire a new customer than it does to keep an existing one happy. I'd like to add one in, and maybe it's not one that we had touched on earlier, but to me, one of the real unspoken trends within the industry is the Millennium Generation, or Generation Y as it's called. Because by the year 2020, and we're only 18 months away from 2020, we believe that it's going to be roughly 46 to 50% of the workforce is going to be Millennium Generation or Generation Y. And I've spoken to so many companies who are going, well, we are not sure how to engage our workforce. We're not sure how to inspire them. We don't know how to connect to them. And this is creating serious problems within the organization itself. And when you look at things like that, statistically, it's all supported, because I think it's less than 13% of employees worldwide feel that they are engaged in their work. And less than 50, so 1 in 2 people actually feel valued. So, to me, Generation Y is currently a missed opportunity, because Generation Y are tech savvy, they're well educated, they're trusting, they are optimistic, and they want to contribute. And, I think the opportunities out there for organizations are immense. And I think 2 things are going to happen. One, organizations are going to learn how to understand them and engage with them. And those companies will be able to use this generation as a unfair competitive advantage. Other organizations which fail to do that will probably be sitting here 12 months from now going, another year we've missed targets, another year we see sales decrease. What do we do with our declining market share? And asking those sort of questions. This topic really gets me going because, my oldest son is of this generation, and I notice it in our interaction that unless I make a conscious decision to change my communication and how I interact with him now, I can see that, the level of engagement disappears with him, and my ability to influence him, even though he's a young man, as a parent, just diminishes immediately. So that, it's absolutely critical that we engage them. And, and I'm also so grateful that I've been invited to Birmingham City University to go and speak on this topic to their students. Because I really believe that, as they are the new generation coming into the automotive industry, the industry is going to be expecting them to take great risks. Their future is on the line. The lives and the future of the industry is on the line. The other people in the industry is on the line. The automotive industry is expecting them to do something. But are they prepared? Do they understand? So, I think, companies that are handling this and doing well within there are really taking it to the next level, where they're engaging with their workforce, engaging the new generation, and looking to them to help, to contribute.
So Roberto, it's fantastic that you're going to be taking time out to go to the university and get Generation Y ready to come into the industry and help the industry grow and progress. I wondered if you could tell us, how do you see existing organizations managing the changing marketing conditions?
I see organizations that are doing a good job and managing it well have realized that they need to move away from selling parts to selling parts and service. They also see and understand that data is the future currency of the industry. At a recent lunch with Martin Hitzel, the CEO of Automotive here in Zurich, I learned what great organizations are doing. And I learned that organizations are deliberately enacting and creating an effective and successful organization, but it's an inside-out approach. It's not the traditional outside-in. Therefore, this means that the quality of your management systems, the quality of your culture, and how well you're able to align these practices to your strategic initiatives is all led by leadership. And whether it's leadership at a management level or leadership at the people level within the organization, these are the ones that are driving the initiatives within the organization. And, you may be surprised, or maybe not, but 3 out of 4 people would say that their boss or their manager is the worst part or most stressful part of their job in the day.
That's not good.
No, and in another study, went on to say that 65% of people or employees would rather take a new manager or boss versus a salary increase, which I was surprised to hear.
Yeah.
So, it's really, if you are not investing in your people and you are not putting your people first within the organization, then, one of the questions has got to be, do you really expect your people to put your customers first? And, a lot of companies don't see this as an inside-out approach and tend to do that. And it's really not going to work in that respect because it doesn't have the materials behind it. Okay. 89% of customers we know that change a supplier because of a poor customer service experience. And it's incredible, that this happens. And when I speak to clients out there, 80% of them believe that they are delivering a quality customer service experience. When in reality, when you go and speak to their customers, only 8% will say that they believe their supplier is delivering a quality customer service experience. So companies that are managing this process well are the ones that are creating the internal mechanisms, are improving trust, increasing communication within the organization, and that's helping to build innovation.
So this comes down really to leadership, and I know if I went and checked out all the books on leadership, there's probably like 200,000 plus books on leadership. There's countless training programs. Are you saying that with all of this that we're actually still failing to produce good leaders?
I'm afraid so. When you look at a recent study in the US and index, I think it was a National Leadership Study Index, and they were saying that 30% of Fortune 500 CEOs fail within the first 3 years, of which 38% fail within the first 18 months. Now, I don't believe that is down to lack of education, lack of experience, or lack of skills. I believe that's because of character. Leadership is an inside-out approach, and I believe it's got to do a lot with people leading out of ego, people leading out of pride, and as well as a lack of emotional intelligence. So you have to learn to master yourself first before you can go on and master anyone else as a leader. And my definition of leadership really is any time that you're trying to change or develop the thinking, behavior, or learning of another person, you're taking on the role of a leader. And in essence, under that definition, each one of us is a leader at any moment in time, whether it's within your peer group, whether it's in your workplace, or whether it's in the family with your children. It's all centered around the leadership side of it. And in Zurich, I quite often lead 2-day workshops focusing on the 4 fundamentals of leadership. And the first fundamental has got to be the heart of a leader. Why do you lead? Then we have a look at the head of a leader, and it's really, what does a leader think? What does a leader see? And then we move down to the third fundamental, which is literally the hands of a leader, and how does a leader act? And what does a leader do? And the fourth one is either the habits of a leader, because in today's world, how does a leader keep track with all the interruptions and all the deadline and the constant pressures that are going on today? So I think that's, absolutely important. And I believe that better management practices could be as much as a 7% increase in sales. And let me say that again in a slightly different way. Poor managers or poor people that are not trained are definitely costing you money within your organization. They're costing you time, they're costing you people, and they're costing you money. They are impacting your bottom line. And I don't believe that in the automotive industry today, with the market uncertainties, the trends and the changes that we see, any organization has the comfort to say, well, I'm not interested. I think everyone needs to take a look because you'd be surprised to know you're probably leaving an amount equivalent to 7% of your total annual sales on the table each year, and you can't afford it. So give yourself the added advantage.
Wow, I guess if you're listening, just imagine what would that 7% do to your profitability or to your returns. I mean, it's a big number. 7% only seems small, but across the sales and the product you're doing, that can make a major difference. Now, Roberto, I know that you're a keen and competitive endurance cyclist, and I know you competed in some of the hardest multi-stage road races throughout Europe. I wonder if you could tell us, what similarities do you see with the cycling and the endurance of cycling and with the business, the industry?
Yeah. Probably the easiest way to try and bring the similarities out is to give you an example. A couple of years ago, I chose to do a multi-stage race called the Hoyt Route. So essentially it's 7 days, you cycle just under 1,000 kilometers, and it's got 21,000 meters of climbing. So Mount Everest times a couple of times within a week.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I signed up for this crazy endeavor, and never having done it before. So you sign up and you go, well, I have a goal, I have a vision, let's go out and do this. And as soon as I thought about this, and I woke up one night with the cold shivers running down your spine going, what the hell did I get into? I realized that I'd never done anything like this before. So I thought, well, I guess I probably need a coach because I don't know how to prepare for one of these events. So I got hold of a coach, and Ivana's brilliant, and she's helped me tremendously. And she said to me, well, where's your team? And I said, well, it's a one-day event. It's a 7-day event, but it's a one-rider man, so there's no team. She goes, no. The next 12 months, you need a team. I said, okay, help me understand that. And she goes, well, you need a team because your family's going to need to be in on this. I said, yeah. She goes, have you got someone who's looking after your diet? I was like, no, never really thought about what I ate and drank. She goes, well, we'll need to look at someone like that. Are you at a gym? Are you doing core strength training? And I thought, no, I should be doing these things. She went, yes. And then probably more importantly, she mentioned, well, are you working with anyone on some mental strength strategies? I was like, well, I'm mentally strong. I don't need anyone. And she kind of smiled, and we carried on. And I think it was probably into month 1, and we had these intervals called power intervals. And literally they are 2 minutes long. So, but you'd end up doing 6 repetitions. So it's 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off 6 times. And the 2 minutes on is a full-out sprint. And by the time, the first one's okay, by the time the third interval comes, you start thinking of, where is my mental strength coach? I really do need one. So, some of the similarities I see is, yes, you need a vision, you need a goal, you need a plan, but you need to have a team who's going to execute on your behalf, because you can't look after all of those things yourself. And then as the months progressed and the date came closer, you do all the training, but you've also got to listen to the feedback your coaches are giving you or your team is giving you, because they might be telling you you're overworking, underworking, going in the wrong direction. So a coach, a team, a mentor is absolutely needed, and business is absolutely no different, because quite often we get stuck in focusing on the goal, and you tend to forget to take a step back and see other aspects of the picture that's out there. So, to me, that's one of the many similarities. And then, unfortunately, probably 6 weeks before the event, I crashed in France, broke my shoulder blade, and had to wait 2 years to go back and do the event. But I did go back and I did finish it. So, endurance, never give up.
I think that's a good testament to your mental strength, because some people have said, that's it, I'm done. You had to get yourself prepared again 2 years later. So that's a commitment to making sure you achieve what you wanted to achieve, and
yes,
that you don't get pushed out of your goals because of things that external to your environment happen. So you mentioned in there, I heard quite a few powerful things in there. It was really about having a vision so you know exactly where you're going. and actually keeping track along the way. Because things can come in and change. You may be cycling in the wrong direction. You want to know, actually, am I going in the right direction? Having that mental strength around that. Was that mental strength like one of the key habits that you need to have in cycling and in business?
Oh, most definitely, because, I think, I can only speak for myself in this case, but absolutely, you need the mental strength, because quite quickly within an organization, with all the things going on, either you tend to forget where you were going, or you start to have these limiting self-doubting beliefs of, oh, it's about the resources again, and I don't have enough. But it's not the resources, it's the resourcefulness to use what you have.
Perfect. Really, really great example, and I love the metaphor there. So tell me then, we have these trends coming in. There's some things coming in that's going to maybe knock us off of our cycle path. It's going to send us maybe on a deviation the wrong way. What's going to happen to organizations that just ignore these trends?
Well, it's unfortunately clear, the organizations of today that will miss these trends, and I try to be kind, will probably not be around. I bumped into a CEO of the Temot Group at an automotive conference a couple of weeks back. And, he had a wonderful picture or mental image for this. And I don't know if you know the story of the frog in the boiling pot. And he was trying to put that into the same image of the automotive industry, because all the organizations are in the pot. The automotive industry is changing. The water is getting warmer, and we are not jumping out. And his tagline on that one was, well, currently it's a very nice warm jacuzzi, but it's about to boil and no one's getting out. So if you don't get out, you don't change, you don't adjust and adapt, the chances of you being around and surviving in a couple of years, is against you. And statistically, you take a look at companies that don't work out, or, change initiatives that fail. It's hard, and change is tough, and it's tough to change, but we got to remember that we cannot be spectators and sit here and watch and do nothing about it. We need to adjust.
And so, just to be super clear that we get this point, how imminent is all of this?
It's happening, it's happening right here, right now. And, again, you speak to people like Wilco Stark of Daimler, he realizes it's there. You speak to companies that are doing well, whether it's Kongsberg or Autoneum, they realize it's here. The bigger issue is that a lot of organizations out there don't actually realize that their survival or the future survival is on the line today. This is happening right here, right now, affecting every one of us.
So it's imminent. So either act now or you're going to face the consequences. Now, this is, I've sent so much passion and energy from you during this call, because you really care about this and you want to make sure that people know about it and take the opportunity they can now to change, and maybe even benefit from the changes because they're thinking about it. In doing that, then you've interviewed a heap of amazing people in this summit. So I wondered if you could tell us about who's coming up, who should we really listen out for, which episodes don't we want to miss, and what is it that we can expect to hear in these episodes?
Well, you're going to want to not miss on any of them. And I'm not just saying because, that's mine and I've put them together. But when you take a look at it, we talk about the mega trends, and yes, those are seen by everybody. But when you dig down into the trends that really affect your business and your organization today, they are different in different parts of the world. I mean, talking to, one of the episodes, not to give too much away, is talking to a gentleman in South Africa, and he was busy telling us about, yes, autonomous driving, electric vehicles. This is South Africa. We don't even have the fuel to make the engine run, with the clean Euro 6 and Euro 5 emissions we have today. So all of them are relevant to your area, your region of the world, and your market. You don't want to miss any of them. I mean, we've got from CEOs to automotive consultants. We've got people from China, from Australia, from Africa, from the US, South America, Europe. we've tried to cover the complete globe to give you a 360 picture.
So a 360 picture with the leading experts in the industry who are going to get you well positioned to make sure that you not only survive in these changes and these trends, but you actually continue to thrive and grow and make the profit and have the success that you deserve.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's, where I've become passionate. I want to help organizations grow. I want to help them survive, and that's one of the reasons that, I recently joined up as a member of the board of a Swiss automotive company. Well, actually, they're based in Switzerland, but it's a global bearing aftermarket company. And, I want to be part of that because I want them to survive. I want them to grow. And I want everyone else to survive and grow because the opportunities are there. It's not just, threats coming in because of the changes. The opportunities exist, but you need to take the time. You need to have a look. And, quite often I ask my clients and I say to them, what opportunities have come past your organization because of these trends? And quite often I tend to get two mixed reactions. The first one is the deer in the headlights, and it's, well, these are only threats. Nothing is good. And these are the guys that unfortunately don't get it. Then you get the ones that go and you can see that their lights, their eyes sparkle up and they get all excited and they go, yes, bring on these changes because they get it, that they can grow and take advantage of these conditions. And there are many companies out there doing it, but you need to understand how and understand their best practices. And that's what I'm hoping to share.
So make sure you tune in and listen to it and find out the best practices so that you can not only survive in this, but go and thrive in the industry. So Roberto, it's been really great being here and listening to you today. It's been entirely a privilege to be the host. I'd like to maybe hand over to you if there's one last message or one last thing you'd like to say to your audience at the summit. What would it be?
Serious note is, the industry is changing. The impacts are imminent. They are happening now. And, it may be over-dramatized, but I cannot say it strongly enough. These changes are impacting you, your organization, right here, right now. And you've got to do something about it.
One point on that, actually, I think there was something we discussed before. I just want to check in with you. These changes are here right now, and there's a level of risk for organizations. Have you put something together for your audience to assess the level of risk that they're under?
Yeah, I nearly forgot about it. Yeah.
How prepared are you to navigate the disruptive trends that are set to hit your business? Will you survive and win in the coming years? To understand your level of risk exposure and to help you avoid becoming a statistic of failure, take the free risk assessment here, www.dalcorsogroup.com, which will identify the gaps and how to navigate the risks. By taking the risk assessment, you get a chance to win a free 30-minute strategy session with automotive growth expert Roberto Dal Corso. Roberto can help you identify an amount equivalent to 7% of your total annual sales that you are leaving on the table each year. To survive and win, take action now and visit www.dalcorsogroup.com.
As a free gift, I've put together an assessment on the website. There'll be a link. Go to the assessment. It's absolutely free. Take the assessment, and that'll give you some very good general direction of where you stand in terms of the risk, where you stand in terms of the changes. And and also as a free gift, if you take the assessment, fill it in, send it back, it's all online. I am going to pick a couple. I'll probably pick 4 or 5 of them, and I will set up a strategy call. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to understand how they impact your organization, and also just to give you some advice, some discussion of how you could be doing things differently to minimize the risk and also to maximize the future potential, the future impact, and the future opportunities that exist, because they are there. You need to take them.
So to understand my risk in this field and in this space, and to get a plan of how to deal with it and handle that, I go to which website?
It's going to be the website. It's www.dalcorsogroup.com. We'll have a link up there. All of the summit is going to be on the website, so keep an eye out. It will be posted everywhere. Lots of info going out. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun.
It is. Thank you so much for your time and energy today, everyone, and I hope you dive right in and learn as much as you can from this fantastic summit.
Kevin, thank you. Thank you for being my stand-in. You've done a fantastic job. I think I might employ you as me all the time.
Thank you so much, and best wishes, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
I hope that you have enjoyed and found value in watching this interview. If you want to learn more about the leading disruptive automotive trends impacting the industry, check out www.dalcorsogroup.com. I encourage you to share it with colleagues that will appreciate great industry insights. Join us tomorrow for more experts from around the world.